Hi! In this video I will show you how to set up and use PulseCheck to monitor and assess the psychosocial risks in your organization. I will demonstrate this by setting up a fictitious organization called Demo Enterprises. To add an organization, click New Organization. Then type in the name of the organization. In this case, it's Demo Enterprises. The region we'll choose is Australia. Industry: retail. Employee count: 180. The tier that we'll give it is Enterprise. Next, enter the admin's details. Now we can click Create. As an admin, I can add users in the Admin Control Center. I can do it manually by clicking Add User and filling out the form, or I can import a CSV. In this example, we'll choose a CSV file that has the information about the users, their email addresses, locations and teams, and then click the Import Users button. Now when we click on the Users tab, we can see we've got 181 users, that's 180 that were inside the CSV file, plus the admin that was there before. Here you can see the user's name, what team they're on, their location, their role, and by clicking the key you can reset their password. Passwords are allocated by the system and users reset them when they first log in. As an admin you can click the dashboard. This is where you see the psychosocial risk overview for your organization. Right now it's empty because we haven't done anything yet in our new organization. A good way to start assessing the psychosocial risk in your organization is to conduct your first Pulse survey. You send your staff an email with a link to a 17-question survey, one question for each psychosocial hazard. This will show you whether any issues exist in specific teams and locations. Let's create the first survey. Click Surveys. Then click New Survey button. Let's start by giving a title to our survey. Then we can choose a Pulse survey or Standard survey. We want to choose a Pulse survey, which only has 17 questions. You can go to the question pool and add custom questions if you want to. You can add up to 10, but let's not, and keep this survey short. Let's now put a description for employees. Next we'll open the survey today and choose to close it by the end of the month and click Create Survey. Now that the survey is ready, you can activate and send invitations. The system will email them automatically. While the survey is active, you can manage it and track participation. You can see the timeline here, and what we want to do is achieve a certain level of responses to ensure we collect sufficient data for true insights. There are also a variety of settings in which we can control the survey thresholds for flagging risk and set the thresholds to ensure we provide appropriate anonymity protection to users in small teams. For example, we can lump small teams into higher levels of the organization. Now let's see how an employee experiences the Pulse survey from the moment the invitations were sent out. Jerry received an email invitation to the Pulse survey. He follows the link and logs into PulseCheck. The site's look and feel has changed since the admin customized it to their org's branding. Jerry clicks Go to Surveys and is assured his privacy and anonymity are protected. Jerry accepts and continues. This is where he starts his survey questions. The first one: my workload is reasonable and achievable without working excessive hours. The choices are never, rarely, sometimes, often, or always. Jerry chooses sometimes, and then clicks Next. Then he continues throughout the remaining 16 questions. PulseCheck is integrated with Safely Resolve, another platform that helps employees resolve interpersonal conflicts and toxic behavior in the workplace. When a user reaches sensitive questions in the survey, they get a consent notice that says, "The next few questions ask about experiences of harassment and workplace aggression." These questions are an important part of understanding your workplace's psychosocial safety. If anything raised by these questions is affecting you, confidential support is available. Tap the Safely Resolve button below at any time. This closed-loop system where PulseCheck is integrated with Safely Resolve can resolve current issues and prevent their escalation to toxic levels before they become painful for the employee and costly for the organization. Once respondents have submitted their surveys, the admin can view the results in the dashboard and in the dashboard. Being our first survey, we only see one dot that represents this Pulse survey. With more surveys, we'll see more dots in the chart. At the top, there's a summary that shows the overall risk score of 11 out of 100, which is low. The response rate is 86%. 156 out of 181 people in the organization responded. There's only one high-risk hazard, and we don't have a compliance score yet, it's too early. Below, we can see a hazard risk summary. For each hazard category, we can see the average score for the organization and the worst score of any team or location. In this case, the sales and marketing team in the Melbourne office have the worst score, representing the highest risk. Most categories are green, but we can see that there are a couple of areas of higher risk. The operations team in Sydney headquarters shows in amber color. It's in medium risk with a score of 39 in the category of low role clarity. The engineering team in Melbourne office has the worst score of 64, showing as red because it's in high risk of poor relationships and conflict. You have several ways to take action when you identify risks in any parts of the organization. Most commonly, you would create a targeted survey for the affected teams or locations to investigate further. You can also use the Action Plans feature to assign actions to people within your organization to address the risks, with interventions such as investigation, consultation, training, updating a process, etc. Let's see how that's done. You can create a new targeted survey by clicking on Surveys and then New Targeted Survey. Then give the survey a title and fill out the rest of the fields. You can select from the list of hazard categories that you want the survey to address. Only questions that relate to the hazard categories that you've selected will be included in the survey. To create an action plan, click Action Plans, then Create Action Plan. We'll select the hazard category Low Role Clarity. The affected team, as you recall, was operations. They were located in Sydney headquarters. The title for this action is Write Clear Role Definitions. The description of the planned control measure is Write Roles and Responsibilities. Now we'll select the control type. There are different types here. I'd say this is administrative control. We're putting role descriptions in place. We'll assign it to Abigail Lee. We'll pick a date. She needs to do it by the end of the month. The priority will be high. We won't write any notes at the moment. We can add a file if we want, and we'll create an action plan. Now it appears inside the action plans list. PulseCheck provides a variety of ways to monitor the psychosocial risks in your organization and track progress as you take action to address them. Let's look at an organization that has been using PulseCheck for a long time, so that we can see their historic data and progress. We're looking at Global Goods dashboard, and things are looking quite good for them on the Pulse trend chart. They've been running Pulse surveys every quarter since January 2025. Looking at each survey, you can see that there's a gradual risk reduction. Starting with 24, 23, 21, 21. Finally, 16 at the latest survey. Their hazard risk summary is also looking good. On the organizational level, it's low, and the worst teams in different locations are also low. But has not always been that way. Let's look at historic data. To look at historic data, click on Risk Heat Map. The data will come up for the history of this organization. You can see the risk categories listed on the first column. Against them you can see each survey's scores, in different colors, depending on their risk levels. You can see that there's a gradual improvement in the job demands category over the quarters, where it started in amber, which is medium risk, gradually reducing to 17 in the latest Pulse survey. This column represents the overall average for the filtered group, and this shows the worst group within that filter. You can filter the data to see the historic trends, by team and by location. For example, let's look at the operations team. In Sydney, you can also view the category trends in Chart View. Here you see the 5 worst categories. As you hover on them, you can see the scores for each survey. Again, you can filter them by team and location, and you can also look at all categories together, or pick individual categories from the list on the bottom. For example, you might want to look at low job control. In the bottom of the screen, you see targeted follow-up surveys data. These are the surveys you initiated after Pulse surveys identified issues in certain categories within any teams or locations. PulseCheck enables you to generate a regulator report to demonstrate your compliance to a regulator. You can also generate a board report to report status to your organization's board. You can create a regulator report by clicking Regulator Pack, and then click Generate an Audit Pack. It enables you to include sections about different hazards, put commentary from the OHS officer, and then generate. You can download it as a PDF or view in the browser. Let's view in the browser. It provides the executive summary, hazard identification, risk assessment results, worker consultation, hazard coverage and control measures, question bank configuration, and, at the end, there's a compliance checklist and how you protected privacy and anonymity of the respondents. You can generate a board report by clicking Board Report, and then Generate Board Report. You can set the period. Let's say we started from the start of this year. Then we click Generate. You can download PDF or view in the browser. Let's view in the browser. Here we have the overall scoreboard. And as we'll scroll, we see key risks and recommended actions, and compliance program status.